Hello, everybody. Today, I'm going to explain the apparatuses for experiment in the laboratory. They are all used for experimentation, and today we're going to learn about the basics. First, the most important is the Bunsen burner. The Bunsen burner is used to heat any chemicals in the laboratory, maybe to heat some water or maybe heat some oil. I don't know, but maybe Bunsen burner is very important. First, the Bunsen burner is made of four parts. There is the chimney, which is also pronounced as burner tube, and there's also the cola, which we adjust the air hole, and there is also the gas source, which is the gas tube, and there will be also a stop cork, and at the base there is the base because it is named after its purpose. There's also the test tube. Test tube is used for holding very little amount of liquid, mostly, but maybe it can be also hold into very little solids, but it must be dissolved into very little. And that is also the tripod. When we heat up a beaker of water, we will go to put the beaker in front of the or on top of the Bunsen burner. But how do the Bunsen burner can topple it? It is the tripod's mission to topple the beaker. So it is said that tripod is very important too. And the fourth is the beaker. Beaker, I've explained, is for holding up large amounts of water. So it is good for heating in the Bunsen burner. There's the measuring cylinder, which we use to measure some liquid impurities and maybe some very little solid impurities. So because little solid impurities is very same from the water impurities or water. There's also the boiling tube. We sometimes will get into test tube rack or when we don't need it, and then we're going to use the test tube holder to hold it up and then to heat it in the Bunsen burner. This is insulating mat. When the Bunsen burner burns, maybe coil will be spun out and flames will come out. So the insulating mat is to prevent it from to burn and then maybe make the laboratory in fires and flames. And then there's the wire guys. In the wire guys is used to topple up the beaker in top of the tripod. It is also very similar to tripod, so sometimes wire gauge is with the tripod. There's also the evaporation dish. The evaporating dish is used to see how to evaporate this liquid or maybe some very little solids. Of course, it is just like a normal dish, but it is very scientific. This is the crucible and lid, and it is just like the reagent bottle, but it is not as transparent. And it is also maybe store some or more ancient things and a very ancient way of storing. There's also the conical flask. The conical flask is called the not round bottom flask, and it is used to store chemicals. So it is very dangerous if you break one. And there's also the thermometer. We use it to measure the temperature of something. Maybe it's the beaker of water being heated or other thing, but it is very good for fair testing and other things. And then there's stopwatch. Stopwatch is used for testing the time for maybe the water to boil when you heat it by a Bunsen burner. This is the boiling, and maybe there are the experimentation that you need stopwatch to help to record the time. There's also the balance. The balance is used to measure the weight of some things such as some solid chemicals and other things. And it couldn't be used by measuring liquid. Test tube holder, I've said originally, it is for holding test tube and maybe boiling tube sometimes. So it is also important for it if you then have a tripod and then you can use it to hold it when heating on the Bunsen burner. This is a tester rack. When we have some unused tester, we put it on a tester rack, maybe, so it may not fall down. There's torques. Torques is used for holding up things, such as there is an ice in a beaker and that is heating up. If it is very hot, then you need to use the tongs to pick up the ice. And then there is the stand and clamp. It is good for holding up Bunsen burners, but it is not mostly used on the. It can be hold before the Bunsen burner, but it couldn't be hold any other things other than test tube. There's also a dropper. Dropper is used for transferring little liquids and other things. Of course, it is only used for few mLs, but it is very useful because it is very accurate. That's the round bottom flask. The flask is more good and it is very similar to the conical flask, but it is different. But it will lead to more chemical spills, but you can use it when you are trying the distillation method in an experiment. I will talk about it later in water. There's also a bonus. There are also some safety apparatus that we need to use. There are goggles, lab coat, gloves, fire extinguisher, fire blanket, fume hood, and water bucket. I'll give you 5 seconds to try to think about water bucket. It is a stand bucket. Many people think it's a fire bucket, but fire bucket really means that the bucket is full of fire and then you put it out by fire and the fire will even become bigger. So you shouldn't just make it into the fire bucket, although you already mean the apparatus of the sand bucket. So these are the all apparatus in the lab. Goodbye!